Dr. Starry stood in front of the big screen, her 6 crystal arms shaking a little as she stared. The hologram showed Jake's skeleton in perfect detail. Bright red marks lit up every single break. She had been a doctor for 200 years, helping dozens of different species. But she had never, ever seen anything like this. "Nurse Kendall, come here now," she called, her voice cracking like ice. The silver nurse hurried over, her big ears twitching nervously. She looked at the screen and let out a sharp gasp. "Doctor, this can't be real. No one could live with this much damage." Dr. Starry counted the red marks again, hoping she was wrong. 17. There were 17 separate broken bones. She pointed to different spots on the display. 3 ribs on the left, 2 on the right. His left shoulder blade is cracked in 2 places. His right arm is completely broken below the elbow. Both legs have many breaks. Nurse Kendall first stood straight up, a sign she was very stressed. "Doctor, in my 20 years as a nurse, I have never seen a patient live through more than 3 big breaks. This human should be dead." "That is exactly what I thought," Dr. Starry replied, her body flickering between blue and purple. "But look at his vital signs." She pointed to another screen showing Jake's heartbeat, blood pressure, and brain waves. All were normal for his species. His heart is strong, his breathing is steady. His brain shows no signs of shock. The second nurse, a young one named Tick, came closer. "Doctor, I checked the machines 3 times. They are not broken. The readings are correct." Dr. Starry walked over to the bed where Jake lay, unconscious. His face was pale and had dried blood on it, but he looked peaceful for someone who should be dying. His chest moved up and down steadily. "I must contact Dr. Morrick right away," she said, moving to a communication panel. "This is too much for me. We need a specialist." The screen flickered to life, showing the face of Dr. Morrick. He was a tall, thin alien with green skin and 4 eyes that moved on their own. His species, the Corin, were known for being very smart scientists. "Dr. Starry," he said, sounding tired, "what is so important that you wake me up?" "Morrick, I need you in Medical Base 7 now. We have a situation. A human with 17 broken bones who is not only alive, but stable." All 4 Dr. Morrick's eyes snapped to look at the screen. 17? Did you say 17 fractures? "Yes, and that is not the strangest part. His vital signs are normal. He shows no shock, no organ failure. By every medical book I have read, this being should have died hours ago." Dr. Morrick was quiet for a long moment, his eyes moving fast as he thought. "I will be there in 10 minutes. Do not move the patient. Do not give him any medicine until I arrive. If what you say is true, we may be looking at a species unlike any we have ever met." The screen went dark. Dr. Starry walked back to the diagnostic screen and studied the breaks more carefully. Each one was clear, and many looked like they should have caused terrible damage inside. Nurse Kendall spoke quietly. "I have been thinking, what if humans are just built different? What if their bones are not as important as ours are?" Dr. Starry thought about this. "It is possible, but not likely. Bones give the body structure and protect our organs. Without them, the body should fall apart." Tick, who had been quietly running more scans, suddenly spoke up. "Doctor, I found something interesting. The human's bones are much thicker and heavier than any species in our records. His bones are almost twice as thick as they should be for his size." "Show me," Dr. Starry ordered. The young nurse brought up a comparison chart on a smaller screen. Jake's bone structure appeared next to a typical Valari, a Corin, and others. The difference was amazing. Where other species had thin, delicate bones, Jake's were thick and strong. "His bones are like armor," Tick observed. "Even broken, they still protect his insides." Dr. Starry's crystal body began to glow brighter. This could explain why he is still alive, but not why he is awake and stable. The pain alone should have put him into shock. Just then, Dr. Morrick arrived, moving quickly on his long legs. He went straight to the screen and began studying the results. His 4 eyes took in every detail of Jake's condition. "Fascinating," he murmured, his green skin turning a darker shade. "Absolutely fascinating." What do you think? Dr. Astari asked. I think we are looking at a species that evolved on a world far more dangerous than anything we know, Dr. Morrick said. These humans must come from a place where getting badly hurt is normal, and surviving means being able to keep going even when you're broken. Dr. Morrick moved closer to Jake's bed and began taking his own measurements with a special device. Look at the old scars on his hands and arms. These are from old injuries that healed. This being has been badly hurt before and lived. But 17 fractures? Nurse Kendall protested. How is that possible? Perhaps, Dr. Morrick said slowly, humans think of serious injury very differently than we do. What we think will kill you might just be a problem to them. Dr. Starry felt a chill go through her crystal body. You mean they might be used to this? It would explain everything. The normal vital signs, a lack of shock, his calm breathing. This human is not fighting for his life because to him, these injuries are not deadly. The medical team stood in stunned silence, watching Jake sleep peacefully, even with enough broken bones to kill 3 members of any other species they knew. Dr. Morrick continued his scans, writing everything down. I am going to contact the Galactic Medical Council. This discovery could change everything we know about healing and survival. Should we wake him up? Tick asked nervously. Not yet, Dr. Starry replied. Let his body rest and start to heal. But I want someone watching him all the time. If humans are really this tough, we need to understand how their bodies fix themselves. Dr. Morrick looked up from his machine. I have another theory. If they can survive this, their healing must be incredible. Their bodies might repair themselves without any help from doctors. That is impossible, Nurse Kendall said. A few hours ago, I would have agreed with you, Dr. Morrick replied. But this human has already shown us that what we know about life is not complete. Dr. Starry began writing detailed reports while her staff kept watching Jake. Every few minutes, she would look at the screen, still not able to believe it. 17 broken bones, and the human was sleeping like a baby. Doctor, Tick said suddenly, his heart rate is going up. I think he is waking up. All eyes turned to the bed where Jake Morrison was starting to move. His eyes fluttered open, and he let out a soft groan. Dr. Starry felt her whole body get tight with worry and excitement. When this human learned how hurt he was, how would he react? Would he finally go into shock? Would he panic? They were about to find out just how different humans really were. Jake looked at his team, moving back to safety. He looked at the aircraft coming for another run. He looked at the 3 alien children who could not run. Time seemed to slow down. Jake thought about the war, about his duty, but mostly he thought about those 3 young faces, looking up at him with trust and fear. The building started to collapse. Large pieces of the ceiling fell. Jake made his choice. He threw himself forward, covering the 3 young Zaffrans with his own body just as the ceiling came down. The weight hit his back like a giant hammer. Sharp pieces of metal and stone cut into his skin. Something heavy hit his leg, and he heard a bone crack. Pain burned through his whole body. An explosion filled his nose with the smell of his own burning hair. But under him, the 3 alien children were safe. The world went dark and quiet. Jake could not hear the bombs anymore. He could not hear his team calling his name. The last thing he felt was one of the young Zephyrians touching his hand with her small, cool fingers. He knew she was alive. That was enough. When the bombing stopped, Corporal Lisa Grant dug through the rubble for 2 hours. She only found Jake's dog tags and some blood on a broken piece of concrete. He's gone, she told Ben and Danny, her voice breaking. Jake's gone. But Jake Morrison was not gone. Miles away, in a hidden medical facility, alien doctors worked to save the life of a human who had saved their young. In the highest tower of the Zephyrian capital, High Matriarch Verena got a message that would change her life forever. Her daughter, Karana, was alive, saved by an enemy soldier who had chosen love over war. The real story was just beginning. Jake felt like he was floating in a warm, gentle ocean. He remembered pain, lots of pain, and the feeling of being crushed. But now there was only warmth and a strange tingling on his skin. He opened his eyes. Everything was blurry and blue. He was inside a tank filled with thick blue liquid. He could breathe it, which was impossible, but true. Tubes and wires were attached to his arms and chest, but they didn't hurt. Through the clear walls, he saw a room unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls curved like they had been grown, not built. They were a pale green and pulsed with a soft light. A shadow moved outside the tank. Jake looked up and saw the most beautiful and terrifying creature he had ever seen. She was tall, with long arms and legs that moved with grace. Her skin was silver and seemed to change color as she moved. Her head was larger than humans, with huge, dark eyes that held tiny points of light, like stars. She felt calm and safe. The creature pressed her long-fingered hand against the tank. She spoke in a voice like music mixed with wind chimes. "Brave one," she said. Then, to Jake's shock, she continued in perfect English. "You are safe now." Jake tried to speak, but no sound came out in the liquid. "I am High Matriarch Verena," she said. "I have been waiting for you to wake up. You've been sleeping for 3 days while our healers worked to save your life." She touched the wall, and the liquid began to drain away. The tank opened with a soft hiss. "Do not try to stand yet," Verena said. "Your body is still healing." Jake sat up slowly. He felt only a little dizzy. He looked at his hands and saw thin silvery lines fading from his skin. "What did you do to me?" he asked, his voice rough. "We saved you," Verena replied simply. "You were very close to death. Your spine was damaged. Your leg was crushed. By human medicine, you should have died." She moved closer. But Zephyrian healing technology is very advanced. The silver lines were healing threads, tiny machines that fix your bones and muscles. Jake stared at her. "Why? Why would you save me? I'm your enemy." Verena's skin shifted to a warmer golden color. "You saved my daughter." She made a sound like wind through trees. A smaller figure entered the room. It was one of the young Zephyrians from the collapsed building. She had the same silvery skin as Verena, but brighter, and her large eyes had swirls of blue and green. "This is Karana," Verena said softly. "She is my only child, the most precious thing in all the worlds to me. And you threw yourself on top of her to save her life." Karana stepped closer to the tank. She made soft musical sounds and reached out her small hand toward Jake. "She has been here every day," Verena explained. "She will not leave your side. She says you smell like safety." Jake looked at the child. He felt a strange warmth in his chest. The other 2 children who were with her, Jake said, "Are they okay?" "Yes," Verena said, her skin brightening. "All 3 survived because of you, but Karana was hurt the worst. Without you, she would have died." Verena sat in a chair that grew from the floor. "In 3 years of war," she said, "I've seen humans do many terrible things. I believed humans were monsters." Her skin shifted to darker blues and purples, colors of sadness. "But you saw our children in danger, and you gave your own life to save them. You proved that humans can choose love over hate." Jake didn't know what to say. He had just done what felt right. "My daughter asks about you every day," Verena said. "You have become her hero." Karana made more musical sounds and pointed at Jake, then at herself. "She wants to know if you will be her shield brother." Verena translated. "In our culture, when someone saved the life of a child, they become family. A shield brother promises to protect and guide a young one. It is one of our most sacred bonds." Jake looked at the young alien girl. She was smiling at him with an expression full of hope and affection. "But I'm human," Jake said. "I'm your enemy." "You were our enemy," Verena corrected him. "But enemies do not die to save our children. You're something else now." She stood. "I have a proposal for you, Jake Morrison. I want you to become my son. I want to adopt you into my family. Make you Karana's shield brother officially. Give you a home here, where you would be honored. You would have our medicine, our technology. You would never have to fight in this war again." The room was very quiet. "There is one condition," Verena said. "You would have to give up your old life completely. You could never return to the human military. In the eyes of your people, you would be a traitor." Jake looked at Karana, who watched him with her large, swirling eyes. He thought about his team, thinking he was dead, He thought about the endless war, the death and pain, and he thought about the moment he threw himself over 3 alien children, acting on something deeper than duty. "I need time to think," Jake said finally. Verena nodded, her skin warm with understanding. "Of course. You will stay here while you heal and decide. But know this, Jake Morrison, whether you accept or not, you will always be welcome in my house. You saved my daughter's life, and that makes you family forever." The next morning, Jake woke up feeling stronger than he had in years. The healing tank was gone, replaced by a soft bed that seemed to mold to his body. Sunlight came through crystal-like windows, warm to the touch. Outside, he saw an incredible city. Buildings spiraled toward the sky like giant seashells, connected by bridges that looked like flowing water turned to stone. Gardens grew everywhere, with plants that sparkled like jewels. "Good morning, Jake," Verena's musical voice said. He turned to see her enter, followed by Karana, who was carefully carrying a tray of food. The young one's skin was bright with happy colors, and she chirped excitedly when she saw he was awake. "She insisted on bringing you breakfast," Verena explained, her own skin a warm gold. "She has been cooking since dawn." Karana set the tray down on a table that grew from the floor just for her. The food looked strange but smelled wonderful. There were fruits that glowed from within, bread that looked like crystallized honey, and a drink that swirled with different colors. "Is it safe for me to eat?" Jake asked. "Our healers made sure your body can process our food," Verena said. "In fact, it will make you healthier than you have ever been." Jake tried a piece of the glowing fruit. It tasted like strawberries mixed with sunshine. The bread was sweet and filled him with energy. The drink changed flavor with every sip, sometimes like cool water, sometimes like warm chocolate. Karana watched him eat, making a happy sound every time he tried something new. She pointed at different foods and said words in her language, then looked at him, waiting. "She is teaching you the names of things," Verena said. "She wants to be your teacher." After breakfast, Verena led Jake outside into the amazing city. Everywhere they went, Zephyrians stopped to look at him. Some were curious, others were afraid, but none were angry. Children peeked out from behind their parents, their large eyes wide with wonder. "They have never seen a human up close before," Verena said. "Most only know your people as soldiers. They are surprised to see one walking peacefully among us." They visited a school where young Zephyrians learned by playing with balls of light that showed them pictures and stories. They saw gardens where plants grew in perfect harmony, each one helping the others. They watched artists create sculptures that moved and changed shape like living things. "This is what we fight to protect," Verena said as they stood on a bridge overlooking the city. "Not just our lives, but our way of life. Our culture values growth, harmony, and the protection of our young above all else." Jake watched Karana play with some other children in a garden below. Even though she was small, she was already acting protective, making sure the younger ones didn't fall. "She learned that from you," Verena said softly. "Before the bombing, she was shy and afraid of everything. Now she wants to be brave like the human who saved her." They sat on a bench that shaped itself perfectly to their bodies. Verena was quiet for a long moment, her skin shifting to thoughtful blues and purples. "Tell me about your family on Earth," she said finally. Jake thought about home, and a sadness touched his heart. "My parents died when I was young. A car accident. I was raised by my uncle, but he died in the first year of the war. Fighting your people, actually." Verena's skin darkened with sorrow. "I am sorry for your loss. War takes so much from all of us." She looked out at the city. "What about you?" Jake asked. "Where's Karana's father?" "He died defending our colony on the Outer Rim," Verena said softly. "Human forces attacked our settlements 2 years ago. He stayed behind to help evacuate the children and did not make it to the ships in time." They both sat in silence, thinking about all the death the war had caused. "This is why what you did was so important," Verena said. "You broke the cycle. Instead of adding to the death, you chose to preserve life, even when it was the life of your enemy's child." Karana came running up to them, holding a flower that seemed to be made of liquid light. She offered it to Jake with both hands. speaking rapidly in her musical language. She wants to give you a memory flower. Verena translated. It will keep this moment forever, so you can look at it whenever you want to remember today. Jake took the flower carefully. As soon as it touched his skin, he felt the happiness and warmth that Karana had felt when she picked it. It was like holding a piece of pure joy. Your technology is incredible, Jake said. You could end this war in a week if you wanted to. Verena's skin became very still. We could destroy your armies, yes, she said. But we could never destroy the fear and hate that started this war. That would only create more fear and hate. She stood and walked to the edge of the bridge. That is why I need you, Jake Morrison. Not just as Karana's shield brother, but as a bridge between our peoples. Jake joined her. What do you mean? Look at how my people react to you, she said. They see a human who chose love over war. They see proof that your species is capable of more than just destruction. And when your people learn what you did, maybe they will start to see us differently, too. If they ever believe it, Jake said. My command probably thinks I'm dead or captured. That is part of the choice you have to make. Verena said, if you become my son, you cannot go back to your old life. In human eyes, you would be a traitor. Jake looked down at Karana, who was now making friends with a small creature that looked like a flying jellyfish. She laughed as it tickled her with its tentacles, and the sound was pure happiness. But if you stay, Verena continued, you could help us find a way to end this war without more death. You could be part of building a future where human and Zephyrian children play together like they do in the gardens today. That afternoon, Verena took Jake to meet the High Council. The Zephyrian leaders sat in a circular room that hummed with soft energy. They were all different sizes and colors. This is a human who saved Matriarch Verena's daughter, announced the oldest council member, whose skin was deep purple with silver markings. Jake stood in the center of the circle, feeling very small and very human. He does not look like much, said one council member with bright red skin. How do we know this is not some human trick? Because my daughter is alive, Verena said firmly, because he nearly died protecting our young. An old female with skin like starlight spoke. Even if his actions were noble, he is still human. How can we trust him? Jake looked down at Karana's small hand, holding his. He felt the warmth of her trust, and he looked at Verena, who had risked everything for him. He thought of the human children back on Earth and the colonies, growing up in fear, just as the Zephyrian children were. He made his choice. I will stay, he said, his voice quiet but firm in the peaceful garden. I will be your son. I will be Karana's shield brother. Verena's skin blossomed into colors of pure, radiant gold. She placed a long-fingered hand on his shoulder, and the gesture felt like a blessing. The next days were a whirlwind. Jake was officially adopted into Verena's family, the third house. It was a strange and beautiful ceremony filled with light and music, where he promised to protect Karana as his own. He began to learn the Zephyrian language, with Karana as his eager, patient teacher. But the war outside had not stopped. Captain Ryan Brooks, refusing to believe Jake was dead, led his rescue mission deeper into Zephyrian territory. The human ships clashed with Zephyrian defenses, and the violence crept closer to the capital. War Prime Dravel, who had always opposed Jake's presence, saw the human advance as proof of his treachery. He convinced a part of the council that Jake was a spy, luring them into a trap. Soldiers were sent to Verena's home to take Jake by force. They arrived just as Ryan's team, rappelling down from their aircraft, landed on the balcony. For a tense moment, the room was a standoff. Human soldiers and Zephyrian guards pointed their weapons at each other, with Jake, Verena, and Karana caught in the middle. Jake, get away from them. We're here to bring you home. Ryan yelled, his rifle aimed at Dravel. They are holding you prisoner. Dravel snarled at Jake, his own weapon pointed at Ryan. This proves it. Nobody is my prisoner. Jake shouted, stepping boldly into the line of fire. Everyone, lower your weapons. Now! He stood there, unarmed, between the two sides who wanted to kill each other to save him. He looked at Ryan, his best friend, and then at Dravel, who only wanted to protect his people. Ryan, you came here because you're my friend. Dravel, you want to execute me because you think I'm a threat. You both care so much you're willing to die for it or kill for it. His voice was strong and clear. But this little one, he said, pointing at Karana, who was hiding behind her mother, she taught me that the bravest thing isn't to fight for people, but to choose a different way altogether. He took a deep breath. I have a new mission now. Not for the human military, and not for the Zephyrian Council. My mission is for peace. I am going to build a school, right here, a school where human and Zephyrian children can learn together. They can learn that they don't have to be afraid of each other. The room was silent, filled only with the distant hum of ships. That's impossible, Ryan said, but his rifle wavered. It is madness, Dravel hissed, but he sounded less sure. It's the only thing that makes sense, Jake replied, and I'm going to do it. You can either help me, or you can try to stop me, but you'll have to go through me to do it. Ryan looked at the small, scared alien child. He saw the way she looked at Jake, with absolute love and trust. He saw the alien mother standing protectively in front of the human she called her son. Slowly, he lowered his weapon all the way. Stand down, he ordered his team. Dravel watched the humans lower their guns. He looked at Verena, whose skin shone with proud, defiant colors. He looked at Karana, with a grunt of frustration. He signaled his own soldiers to stand down. The council will hear of this, he muttered, but he turned and left. The immediate danger was over. Ryan stayed for one day. He saw the school Jake had already started planning. He saw human children from a nearby neutral colony tentatively playing with young Zephyrians, their laughter mixing into a new, hopeful sound. He saw Jake, not as a prisoner or a traitor, but as a teacher, a brother, a son. He saw a future he had never dared to imagine. When Ryan left the report back to his commanders, he didn't have a prisoner. He had a message of peace and a request to send willing human children to a new kind of school. It was not easy. There was still suspicion and anger on both sides. But the school, nestled in Verena's gardens, became a small, glowing beacon of hope. Jake taught there every day, with Karana always by his side, his first and most eager student. He never saw Earth again. But in the faces of the children, human and Zephyrian, working, playing, and learning together, he found a new home. He had chosen love over war, and in doing so, he had not just saved 3 children. He had planted a seed for a new future, one where the stars were not just for fighting over, but for sharing.